It's Louis from XBorg, and today I'm super excited to present the CyberLink number 6. And this CyberLink is very special because we don't go through the normal updates about XBorg. It's more for general CyberLink where we discuss about our ecosystem, what we've accomplished, and the products that we are building. And first, the first line that you see here is the 30th of March. So if you're viewing this on the day of release, it's the 28th of March. So it's in about 2 days. And why are we putting so much focus on this is because for us, that's a key announcement. I will actually tease the announcement and tease what will be released throughout this CyberLink, as you'll see that this makes a whole lot of sense within just the scope of the product that we are building. Then we discuss about the seed rounds. Then we look at the ecosystem overview. So it's just a very clear overview of exactly what are the things that we do. To then deep dive into the core app of the ecosystem, so xborg.gg, and then we discuss about the things we've achieved with this app in the past. And then lastly, we'll touch on the protocol sustainability. So how are we turning this from just an idea to something that is actually sustainable and bringing revenues? And the last part is about our native token, the XBG token, and its utility within the whole ecosystem. So I won't say more things about this. It's coming in 2 days. It's a long time overdue at this point. But what is this announcement about? It will be a collaboration / partnership / joint venture with a very well-known entity in the gaming space, and that's all I can say today. Well, the thing I can add actually on top of this is it's one of many announcements that will come, and I think that's partially why we're excited, is because you'll hear many of those announcements just after. So just stay tuned for that. Next announcement is, we've been hinting at this for quite some time now. You can actually go on xborg.com/seed. But yes, we are opening a private seed round for our Prometheus community, and we are able to give you a date. So it will be end of April. End of April, you will be able to participate in our upcoming seed rounds. And here I'm specifically talking to the Prometheus community. So if you hold one NFT, you will be able to partake in the round, and that's coming end of April. Why is it coming now and not earlier or not later? First I want to clarify that we are very well capitalized. So in terms of runway, we have about 20 months of runway. So it won't necessarily happen end of April. I think here we're just taking the right amount of time to do this properly, so that all the questions of the community are answered. Our intention is clearly not to rush into things. So it's very important that when the Prometheus community feels comfortable that they have all of the information they need to make a proper investment decision, then we will go ahead, but not before this. And why are we doing this now? Because I just stated that we have about 20 months of runway, so 20 months of essentially just no revenues where we could sustain the business. Is because we have started the rounds privately with VCs and business angels, and fortunately we had very good appetite from those investors. And the thing is, we want to still keep a small allocation from the Prometheus community. So in practice, the longer we wait, the bigger the smaller the allocation. For the Prometheus community. So we always said from the very first day we minted the NFT that this would be a perk, and we don't want to compromise on this perk, and that's why we are announcing it. I also think that the questions from the community are really key, and that this also helps us in just building a better protocol and a better better fundamentals for us. We have received from our amazing community members about 150 questions regarding XBorg, and today we are actually tackling it. By the way, the next CyberLink will be about just those 150 key questions about XBorg. Won't cover them all of them in depth, but we'll cover a big chunk about this. And so here it's a great follow-up just to say, if you have any questions that you feel are unanswered, you can actually drop them down below on the YouTube comments, and we will answer all of them with utmost clarity, hopefully, but at least utmost transparency. So regarding all of the terms, so details as in valuation, allocation per wallet, allocation per NFT, etc., that will come. That will actually be communicated this week. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the private seed rounds. Hopefully you're as excited as we are. It's basically the only opportunity that you have to acquire XBG token before the public sales on the day of the token launch. Now we move on to the core of the XBorg ecosystem. So, what is it that we fundamentally do? If you're here from the very first days, you understood that a couple of things have changed. I mean, we've sort of repositioned the way we explain how we go about XBorg. First it was about digital identity, and then you had applications built on top of it. So now we've just decided to add clarity on top of this. And so the XBorg ecosystem is composed of first two networks, which I will also refer to as layers, but these are exactly the same things. So the first network is the gaming credential network. So here, this is where we create the digital identity of players. So this network is composed of NFTs, which represents the gaming data of a player. And within the XBorg ecosystem, we issue specific NFTs. So you'll have an NFT for the game that you play. So if you play CSGO, you'll have an NFT on CSGO. If you play Dota 2, you'll have an NFT on Dota 2, and so on and so on. We also have NFTs for communities, where if you belong to a community or if you're a fan of a community, you will be able to get an NFT that represents your your identity within this specific community. And the gaming credential network is very simple. It's actually just the aggregation of those NFTs into one single network. What's interesting about this is that brings us to the point 2, which is the gaming application network. So the first network that we built, which is the credential network, allows us to create applications on top of this. So one of the great things about this credential network is you can actually query the network. So if you're just an external person, you can ask the network to tell you who are the most skilled persons within this network. You have to think of it as like an immense database. And actually, down the line, this will be represented by a blockchain where we would eventually have our own roll-up. But to come back to it, it's essentially like a large database of all of the credentials. And the great things about this is the gaming application network can actually use this database in order to create better user experiences for their application users. And this has unlocked so many opportunities for developers. So for instance, we have a launchpad, and this launchpad is directly using the gaming credential layer, so that according to your performance in a specific game, you can invest into a specific opportunity. And this is also great for a game, because as a game, and if you're looking to raise capital, you typically want to raise capital from the people that bring lots of value to you. And typically these people are the ones that played similar games in the past. And this is the power of applications that are built on top of this gaming credential network. Also, you'll see that the XBorg.gg app is also using the same gaming credential network, where we enable players and fans to engage within communities, and this is also using the credential network. So that means that we can create personalized experiences based on the behavior of a gamer beyond just this single app. But let's say if someone invested into the Launchpad, which is connected to the ecosystem, they can actually, we can actually have a better experience on the XBorg.gg app. And so, that's a quick overview of the ecosystem. We will now deep dive into the first layer, which is the credential network. So the credential network, as I stated before, is composed of 3 modules. So you have the player module, you have the game module, and you have the community module. So those modules are, it's essentially where we collect information. So the community module, which is here down below, collects information about social engagements of a specific community and of its fans within a community. And within it, you actually have a reputation system. So if you're behaving in a good way, you have a positive reputation, but if you're behaving in a bad way, you have a bad reputation within this community. And all of this is marked directly within the protocol and sitting on chain. You also have a gaming module, and that's typically where we track gaming information of players. So if you're a player, you will be able to collect NFTs from those specific games, and those NFTs will contain your in-game credentials from that specific game. So typically the kill to death ratio, the win rate, etc. But it will also include the tournament results. So if you've played on well-known tournaments or tournaments on community gaming or Faceit, you'll typically have this within your NFT. And then that will also track the esports engagement of a specific player. So all of this will actually compose your gaming identity. So this is what we are striving to do since the very first days, but now we understood that the gaming identity will be one single NFT that will mirror all of the NFTs that you have within our ecosystem. So you pretty much have to think of it as what Lens Protocol is doing, where you have a Lens profile, and then you have a different set of modules that bring you different NFTs, but all of those NFTs are attached to your profile. We're also making it easy for developers to build on top of our ecosystem. So if you understood it, we are building this initial network, but then anyone can build applications on top of this. So it won't be just XBorg that will build application on top of it, but via the suite of APIs that we create, anyone can create applications on top of it. And lastly, the protocol is completely composable, meaning that we are building with other ecosystems, and the first ecosystem being the Lens protocol, which is building the social layer for Web3. And a very interesting fact about this credential layer is, you have to, if you want to make it very simple, you just have to think of it as the ultimate tool to build the identity of players, where you not only have in-game data, but you also have community data, which covers pretty much all of the data spectrum of a player. The cool thing about this is the ability to create applications built on top of it. So typically the Launchpad that we launched earlier last year is a use case of the applications that we built on top of this network, where based on your identity, so based on the gaming experience that you have, you can access specific deals. We also have the XBorg app, which is where you can collectibles, so collects in-game badges, depending on the quest that you do. So we had successful beta on EV.io and CS:GO, and this is one use case of the application. Another set of application is the player earnings tokenization, where typically a player, so an esports player, will be able to tokenize their earnings and give access to the earnings to fans, where fans will be able to share the upside with a player. And if you think about this, this application only makes sense because of the credential network. Because the credential network allows you to track the player's data, pretty much all of the history of the player, which it would not make sense to have player earnings tokenization without this credential layer. And one of the other cool use case of that is reputation-based lending. So typically, as you evolve within our ecosystem, you will forge your reputation as a gamer within the different NFTs that you own. And accordingly, you would be able to pledge your NFTs, so your gamer reputation, in order to lend assets or to borrow assets in a liquidity protocol, just like Aave or Compound. So here, this is really a breakthrough for the whole space, and this is only feasible because we have this credential network that is built. Because essentially you can't have a reputation based out of nowhere. So in that case, this is really built on top of our data network. And here, next point is that we are deep diving into the first, not the first, but the flagship application of the ecosystem, and this is what we refer to as the XBorg app. So this app allows you to connect with communities and games that you're a fan of. And we do it in a very fun and gamified way, where you can complete quests on your favorite games, and upon quest completion, you can actually create your avatar. So earlier, when I was talking about the different NFTs that you collect, well, this avatar is typically an NFT that you collect for a specific community. And by the way, this is tied to the announcement that is coming in just about 2 days, where with a partner community, you will be able to have their own unique avatar based on the systems that we create. And here it's really a new way to engage with gaming community, because it won't just be you farming engagements on like Quest 3 or D-Quest or Crew 3, but you really will have tailored quests based on the games that you like. So if you're a fan of CS:GO, well, you might have a quest that will refer to getting the best KD on CS:GO for the next 10 games. And if you complete those quests, you will be able to receive unique perks from the communities that we support, but also unique wearables. And those wearables will represent your identity as a fan. And so hopefully now it's a bit more concrete what the NFTs of the credential network represents. But essentially, on the XBorg app, you will be able to join many communities and many games and harvest NFTs for each games that you play and each community that you're part of. And all of that composes your credential network and your identity as a gamer. And so it's really going to be a brand new home for communities. And here I should add specifically gaming communities, where it's going to be a very easy way for people to join your community, to engage based on the quest that you're doing or that you are posting on the app. And those quests will be either social quests, but also gaming quests. So the alpha was supporting a couple of games, but the V1 that we are releasing in Q2 of this year will release way more games and way more social interactions. And the reward can be unique perks from the community that we support. So the first community that we support will be announced on the 30th of March, and they will decide the kinds of rewards that they give you. Also, just to come back on the alpha, so if you're part of XBorg from the very first few days, we were calling this alpha the gaming passport, but this has now changed to the XBorg app. And I want to, I guess, just cover some key achievements that we've achieved on this app. So we've run this alpha for about 2 months. We are supporting 3 games. We have about 10,000 signups and 1,000 weekly active users and about 4,000 gaming badges that were shared on social media. And for us, it was really key to build this app just to understand, what is the value that people put in their gaming data and the gaming badges. Because the whole ecosystem is was built on the assumption that players really like their data and wanted to get a gamified experience on top of their already existing gaming experience. And this alpha to us has validated this concept, and we are now pursuing the development of the V1, which I said earlier is due to be released in Q2 of this year. Now it's very important to understand that the protocol itself is making revenues and is sustainable, because of course whenever you're doing something, it's great to have a good idea, but it's of course better to just have something that makes sense economically. So first is we capture fees within the whole credential network. So if a developer wants to build on top of the credential network, so if you want to do a custom application on top of the credential network, you can do so, but with a fee, and the fee is determined by the number of requests that you do on the credential network. You also have a fee that is on the sequencer. So I hinted at the fact that XBorg would have its own blockchain at some point, and so the blockchain, the rollup will have its own sequencer, which will accrue fees within the protocol, which are accumulated every time a transaction occurs on the network. At the application level, so we just saw the XBorg app, but on the XBorg app, if you want to access premium quest, and if you want to access premium avatars and wearables within the ecosystem, you will have to pay either a season pass or a subscription. So in exchange of a subscription, you will be able to get wearable drops, enhanced quest within the app, so things like auto refresh on the app, and that will only come for premium users. The great things about this is if you own a Prometheus NFT, you don't have to pay any of this. As we said from the very beginning, the Prometheus NFTs will grant you the utmost best experience within the app, and as such, you won't have any fees. On the community side, so as a community, if you want to use the app for your fans, you'll actually have to pay a subscription. So it will be a freemium model, so it will be free at first, but then if you want to opt in for better plans, you'll have to pay. And then the collectibles that you see, that you saw on this slide, so some will be unlocked via the quest, but some you'll have to pay directly. So it's the sort of pay to win side of the app. We also haven't discussed about the launchpad today, but I will do another full-fledged pitch of XBorg where we cover pretty much everything. But one of the applications that we have is the launchpad, and on the launchpad we have fees that are accrued, and accordingly, this is one of the revenue of the protocol. Also, the DAO. So this is something I haven't covered, but XBorg is backed. So we have the most competitive Web3 gaming community to date, and we are also organizing a lot of tournaments. And currently, we have the XCS that is running, and it's to date one of the largest Web3 league. And this is typically something that brings revenue to XBorg. Also, the different tournaments that we are organizing that are sponsored by some communities, those bring revenues. And also, the DAO is making strategic investments into specific games that are listed on our launchpad, and we also have some assets under management. So typically, if you own lands on Illuvium or specific NFTs that generate yield, well, we actually can manage those assets and generate yield for you, and we take a commission off of this. The last part, and that's also linked to the announcement that is coming in about 2 days, and I actually haven't discussed about this too much, but this is relative to the decentralized gaming communities, and that will directly occur on the XBorg app. But we capture fees or revenues at least from the different proprietary stake we have in the gaming communities. We also, whenever you launch a community on the XBorg app and you tokenize it, they would take a fee off of this. And we've discussed about player earnings, but as a service, because we're doing this, we will take fees of player earnings that are tokenized directly on the app. So now, when it comes to our ecosystem, it's very important to understand that the whole value that is generated within the ecosystem is captured by our native token, which is the XBG token, which plays different roles within the ecosystem. And here we have 4 different pillars. But first is the in-app payments and platform fees. So I've just discussed about the sustainability of the protocol, but actually all of the fees that are accrued, so whether it is the player earnings or whether it is the subscriptions, all of those fees are either captured in fiat currencies, stable coins, or directly XBG token. But what's key here to understand is all of the non-XBG fees are directly used to buy XBG tokens on the open market. And as such, the XBG token will be the currency, or the token used within the app and within the platform. So yeah, all of the different touch points where value flows, you have the XBG token. Quite naturally, it also gives you governance rights. So within the protocol, you will basically be able to have a say across everything that we're doing. So whether it is the specific applications that we're building, or the different fees within the ecosystem, or the perks that we give to the Prometheus community, all of this will be able to be decided as your holdings of the XBG token. And today, XBorg is not so much decentralized, but after TGE, so once we launch the token, it will be decentralized, and holders will be able to have a say on the next decisions and strategic moves of the team. Here, it's very important to mention, and I've also haven't mentioned it in the past, but when we discussed about the seed rounds, it's important to mention that the seed round is all about the XBG token. We discuss here about the fee mechanism, but it's going to be very important to understand that pretty much half of the revenues that we generate are sent towards the XBG token. And actually all of the cash flows that are generated either go to the staking pool or the treasury of the DAO, but none of it go to shareholders of the company. Because you have to understand the difference between holding shares and holding token. In that case, we only sell tokens because all of the value that we accrue goes to the token and not to the shares. The third utility is staking. So as I said, half of the fees that are generated within the protocol go to what we call the staking reward pool, and just by staking the XBG token, you are able to, and staking it, but also performing some actions within the protocol, you'll be able to capture those fees, and this is what we call real yield. And lastly is protocol access. So some parts of the applications will be restricted to holders of specific amounts of XBG token. So typically on the launchpad, today it's only about Prometheus NFTs or your identity as a gamer, but then later you'll have, well, as soon as we launch the token, you'll have the quantity of your XBG token that will matter in order to access deals and to access different allocations, which is very exciting. But also, if you want to complete specific quests that may be able to give you, you can earn money or tokens or NFTs or whitelist, you'll have to process certain XBG token. So these are like the four big pillars of the token within the ecosystem. And here, this very last slide, and that will be the last slide for today, goes over the just the different fees which we just discussed on the revenues. But here, what's important to understand is the revenue capture and the fact that 50% of the fees generated go to the project and ecosystem developments, so which is the DAO treasury, and half of the fees go to the staking reward pool. So half of the revenues directly go to holders of the token, and the rest goes to the treasury of the DAO, and this will enable us to further develop the network, the credential network, and the applications. And that's it, really. I wanted to just cover some key points about XBorg. What's coming next is a full pitch, which will probably last about an hour. Here it was a very quick explanation of the protocol, but hopefully that gives you an idea of the whole ecosystem and the value that we are creating. So as I said earlier, if you have any questions that you want us to address, you can drop them in the comments below, and we will address it in the next CyberLink, which will be a dedicated FAQ about everything that we're doing at XBorg. And as I said, it will be hosted on YouTube. It won't be a CyberLink, but there will be a dedicated pitch about the XBorg ecosystem. So that's it for me. I hope you liked the CyberLink, and we see each other in 2 weeks. And stay tuned for the announcements in about 2 days. Bye-bye.